Welcome to another edition of our Spotlight series. For this special interview, we're going to be learning more about Non-Conformists Orchestra and its founder, Bunny Shilakowsky. The Non-Conformists Orchestra is the name of a trans, non-binary, LGBTQIA+, and minority-inclusive professional orchestra based in Boston. And we couldn't be more excited to sit down and learn more about this amazing orchestra and its wonderful founder. So let's get into it. First, tell us about yourself.
I'm Bunny Shilakowsky, and by profession, I'm a violinist. So I've played in a lot of professional orchestras, both in the rank and file, just as a member of the group, a section player, and also in leadership positions like an assistant concertmaster or a concertmaster. I also created a professional chamber orchestra a number of years ago. And I used to lead that orchestra either from the first desk of the violins or from a conductor's podium. And I created that orchestra, which used to be called the Bristol Chamber Orchestra, from nothing, from scratch. The same way that I've created the Non-Conformists Orchestra, which is my new latest big project. And I guess I'm the founder, the concertmaster, and right now, I wear a lot of hats because it's a small organization. So I'm also like the booking agent that gets us our paid gigs. And I'm also temporarily the head of the planning board. The function is formulating a structure for our organization, finding volunteers, finding supporters, finding sponsors to help raise money so we can mount our concert programs and productions. In addition, I also work with our acting music director to create our concert programs and also to find personnel. I audition musicians. We audition those trans, non-binary, LGBTQIA professional orchestral musicians, and then I will also be the contractor who contracts them for the orchestra concerts that we've booked with towns and cities who would like Boston's only queer orchestra to perform in their concert series or festivals. And then I'll coordinate rehearsals, make sure everybody shows up safely, on time, prepared to perform at a really high standard of excellence. I do most of this stuff myself. But, since I'm gathering in the best trans and non-binary professional musicians in New England, I'm hoping that we'll soon have a lot more help with a lot of these things that I'm doing, by myself a lot right now. And I hope that a lot of people watching this spotlight might decide to join our volunteer organization, since we need more supporters and professionals of all kinds on our board and in many other functions to help make our organization successful for the long term.
What is Non-Conformists Orchestra?
The Non-Conformists Orchestra is, I think most people kind of know what an orchestra is. If you were to read our poster for the June 26th concert in Watertown, we are supposedly Boston's first queer orchestra. But I think that we're more than just a queer orchestra. Originally, I envisioned this as being a transgender orchestra because it was inspired by me coming out in 2022 as a transgender woman. I was trying to start performing with orchestras and things like that, not conforming anymore with the gender identity that I was labeled with at birth. So I thought that it would be great to have an orchestra that sort of elevates and promotes people like myself. So that, non-gender conformity is really the greatest unifying concept of this group. Although it's not the only concept, because we're also reaching out to all professional orchestral musicians across the queer rainbow, I like to say. What we are is a professional orchestra. We happen to also, I just want to throw in that we happen to be a union orchestra. We do not encourage people who are non-union people to join us. And it's a very specific reason, and that is that we are trying to elevate and support people, and the protections that being in a union provide help people in general that are kind of like working people. We won't be taken advantage of, will be given fair wages, safe workplace. Musicians are just like anybody else. We have to earn a living. And so we want to make sure that that people get the wage that will actually enable them to pay their bills. And incidentally, to provide them, when they're no longer able to perform, with some kind of a pension, so that they have something they can retire on, because we can't go on forever and ever, although we try.
How did Non-Conformists Orchestra get its start?
I came out as a transgender person in 2022. I am a mature person. I won't tell you how old I am. And I felt that I couldn't carry my secret gender identification to my grave. I reached a realization that other people like myself needed an orchestra where they could express their art, their music, and be their authentic selves at the same time. For many years, I had never dreamed of being able to express my feminine persona in my job. I'd be dressed in a tuxedo. I was a reasonably handsome guy, although I think I'm a prettier girl than I was a guy, but that's just me. But I performed thousands of rehearsals and concerts in a tuxedo, and then I thought perhaps I could help provide somehow, by developing something new, concerts where musicians could dress in the gender that they really identified as. I began this process. How do you put together an orchestra? I assembled my ideas first. And then I started reaching out to people who I thought might be possible supporters of this kind of idea, or might even want to be in the orchestra. So I found a transgender professional conductor in Chicago, Alexandra Enyart, and she agreed to become our acting music director. And so now we're kind of get a little more legitimacy now, because we have a separate director who's going to help us with our growth. And so we're becoming closer to turning these ideas into a reality. And then I started performing some solo promotional events. And so ways of telling people what we're doing, sort of hoping to find support from people who have like-minded folks. We're presenting music of composers that throughout the ages have written music for orchestra, and we want to keep that music alive, because it's easy to promote popular music on the radio or radio. Do they still listen to radio? Popular music has plenty of money behind it and everything, but we want to keep I guess you'd call it the classical arts, alive. We want to keep orchestral music on your plate, so you can also savor the beauty of stuff that's been created throughout the centuries. To keep orchestral music alive is the other mission. The more success we have, the more possibility we have of keeping that alive for future generations.
What would be your dream season for Non-Conformists Orchestra, money being no object?
My dream would be, after a few years of doing this development, that we'd be able to, perform a series of large orchestral concerts spread out over the year, a full season interspersed with some smaller ensemble concerts for local communities, but also for the general public, and also for school kids, because we want to inspire kids to perform this kind of music, and also to be free to express themselves. So that dream stage season might include a main stage of possibly an unstaged or a staged opera, maybe one a year. Of course, it would probably have a contemporary kind of queer or transgender or non-binary theme, maybe. From my experience being in other orchestras, over the years, one of the things that some orchestras do is they have a core of musicians that's sort of contracted to play most of the season, and then you expand, you add more musicians as needed to do the larger work, and to do as many as 30 orchestral concerts. Some of those might be repeats throughout the year, and then maybe as many as 50 small ensemble performances. The eventual thing that we would love to see is to not just be here in Boston, but to be sending out to many, many, many different locations. We'd like to be all over the world eventually. And so an operating budget for just what we'd like to accomplish in the first 3 to 5 years would be around $3 to $5 million. But if we go with the whole international kind of thing, then we're talking about a budget of many more millions of dollars. So that's my aspirational. That's the answer. You asked me for like my ideal dream season. That would be it.
What is something you're proud of?
In no particular order, I am really proud that I'm the work that I'm doing and that the people that have joined me are doing, that we are creating something that really tries hard to provide a performance, a place, a venue, a situation where queer and non-conforming musicians can feel free to express themselves. People who are like outside of being queer, outside of being trans, probably don't really understand the amount that we repress our feelings. We're like happy to be there. I was happy to be performing without looking like a woman, looking like a man, because it was a great part of my life, and I always enjoyed performing. But performing in my authentic self, being who I feel I am, feels that much better. Anyway, I'm also really proud that we've become encouraging and inspiring other people to be their authentic selves. And that's what we hope to accomplish.
What inspires you?
I am blessed with many wonderful inspirations. I'm inspired by both. There's positive and there's negative inspiration, if you will. I mean, I'm inspired by good things, and negative things inspire me as well. I am very inspired by the people who created and who support the Transgender Emergency Fund, that helps to provide, housing for transgender people who have no place to live, and other organizations that help trans youth who are homeless or have other hardships. I'm inspired by our governor and our lieutenant governor and other politicians who refuse to live in suffocating closets. I am also inspired by friends that I have made who I know have lost connection with their own families because we like to say they're egg cracked. They needed to come out and live authentically, and it didn't work with their families, and it's a sad thing, but it's inspiring nonetheless. I'm also inspired by the terrible loss of Nex Benedict and everybody else who's been bullied and killed by people who just don't get it, that love is more important than evil, and that hatred and the need for love. And I think it's particularly important these days. I'm also deeply inspired, going back to my school days in the 70s at New England Conservatory. Gunther Schuller was a great inspiration to me. He was a virtuoso horn player. He was an amazing composer. He was a studious and incredibly intelligent conductor, an author, and an administrator, who was the president of the New England Conservatory when I was going to school there. And he called me. He called me about a month before he died. Evidently, he was calling all the people that he knew from throughout his life, and he called me to give me the message that I have to continue supporting orchestral music. And that is part of my mission. And I'm also inspired by the example that Landmarks Orchestra has made in offering free concerts to the public, and everyone else who has helped me as I transition into this brave new world.
Are there any events you would like to plug? How can people find out more about you and Non-Conformists Orchestra?
June 26th, we are playing at a place called Saltonstall Park in Watertown, Massachusetts, a concert that is free to the public, and we will be playing music of queer composers with our principal players of the orchestra, and so that's a nice opportunity to see us play. But the following day, it looks like we're going to play pretty much the same concert, but in a different location. We're going to go over to Needham, to Memorial Park gazebo, where we'll play pretty much the same program. But those are the two upcoming things that are sort of connected with Pride Month. The easiest way to find out about it is on our website at the Non-Conformistsorchestra.com.
Any final thoughts?
People fear leaving their comfort zones. They find it easier to attack other people who are different from them, who believe in different things, or who look different, who have different beliefs. People also are very protective, and I don't take this away from anybody. We're all this way. We're protective of whatever little home and family that they have. And they want to preserve that, understandably. So anyone that they think is going to try to take that away, they might see that as a threat. As nonconformists, we don't exist to take anything away from anybody else. We want to add something to your life, add some color, add some artistry to inspire you, to give them something extra that you don't have already in your life. Some people might still see that as a threat. We hope not. You might think that you want to be a supportive person, but you might be worried that you might say the wrong thing, that you might offend somebody. So I think go ahead and say what you're thinking. Just realize that you might have somebody correct you. Like, you use the wrong pronouns. It's like, oh my God, that's horrible. It's okay. Correct yourself. You might apologize and then move on. People can be very forgiving, and add that, correction to what you're saying or doing. It might just be the beginning of what might be a scary but potentially constructive dialogue, where eventually you will find common ground with that other person that's different from you. And you might be able to share space with your neighbor, and you might even enjoy them. Don't be afraid to try. Even in the face of a repressive, negative initiative, we have to keep envisioning a better future for our children and the children of our children. So we must keep fighting, if not for ourselves, then for them, for their freedom to express themselves, to stay alive, to live in a healthy, productive life as good citizens of a beautiful world. There's enough love to go around for everyone, and music should always be there to translate our unspoken thoughts into something that we can feel and hold and cherish, just like a beautiful memory.
Thank you again to Bunny for taking the time to sit with us and explain her journey with Non-Conformists Orchestra. You can learn more about Non-Conformists Orchestra and their events, including their upcoming concert on June 26th in Watertown, Mass. at nonconformistsorchestra.com. And be sure to follow us at Landmarks Org for more videos like this.